all that we are is the result of what we have thought. The mind is everything. What we think, we become.
Welcome to Sacred Whispers with Linda Roberts and Hailey Hinson on Real Revolution Radio. Join us on the show that covers topics on awakening and ascension, energy healing, animal communication, health, intuitive signs, essential oils, and more. Listen as we help to bring forth the inner wisdom that is within each of us.
Hello there, and welcome to Sacred Whispers with Linda Roberts and Hailey Hinson, hosted by Real Revolution Radio.
Hi, welcome to Sacred Whispers with Linda Roberts and Hailey Hinson on realrevolutionradio.com. Today we have a special guest with us. She's a dear friend of ours. She is one of the founding members of the International Labyrinth Society, and her business is Labyrinths in Stone, and she actually makes and designs labyrinths. And her name is Debbie Cumming. Debbie, hi, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing great, thank you.
Good. So, thank you for joining us. We want to learn more about labyrinths, and I know you are an expert at that. So, can you tell us what is a labyrinth?
A labyrinth is oftentimes confused with a maze. They're actually two different things entirely. So a maze, you get lost and confused. It's more of a game. It's more of a left side of your brain activity. You have to think things out. Sometimes it can even be frightening. But with a labyrinth, it is a single path that you can either walk with your feet, with your entire body, with your finger, as a labyrinth, finger-sized labyrinth that you would hold in your hand. Or you can also follow a labyrinth with your eyes. So a labyrinth being a single path that leads to the center, and you don't get lost. There's no confusion. As long as you focus on your path, you will make it into the center.
Okay, good.
So where do you typically find labyrinths?
Labyrinths are becoming, well, for one thing, labyrinths are very ancient. They date back to about 5,000 years ago, and so they are really a part of human spirituality and human consciousness for thousands of years. So labyrinths today are becoming extremely popular in hospital settings, in churches, in public parks, retreat centers, universities. They're becoming popular in many, many places where people can go where they may need to have some peacefulness, some healing, some inner reflection, sometimes just to listen to that small wee voice inside. We have been making them, my husband and I have been owners of Labyrinths in Stone now for almost 17 years, and labyrinths have become our full-time work. We started out making them alongside our brick paving business, and since that time, they've become so popular that we no longer do residential work. We pretty much exclusively do labyrinth work all around the country for those places. So they're becoming really, really wonderful tools for people to focus better.
What kind of materials do you use when you're doing a labyrinth?
We make them. Labyrinths can be made out of many things. They can be temporary labyrinths. They can be permanent labyrinths. We tend to specialize in labyrinths that will be there for many generations to come. We create legacy labyrinths, and our hope is that they will be there for many, many years. You can also make temporary labyrinths using bird seed, using food. We did one for the local food pantry where we drew the design out on the grass, and then people brought food to donate to the food pantry, and we put the food on the lines so people could walk the labyrinth with an intention for people who have less than them. So not only is it a wonderful thing to give back to the community, but it really gave them a chance to focus on all the blessings that they have in their life and to be grateful for all that they have and to be able to share it with others who are less fortunate. So it's really about walking in another person's footsteps. And that went very well. We donated about three pickup trucks full of food to the local food pantry. So that's just, that's the temporary way to make them. Bird seed, food. I'm making one for Mother's Day weekend. We're making it with rose petals. It'll be a temporary labyrinth. So many ways to make them. Pretty much it's just up to your imagination is the only thing that would limit you on how labyrinths could be created. We tend to be very well known for our permanent labyrinths made using pavers, natural stone, clay pavers, concrete pavers, boulders, things that will be there more permanently and for a longer period of time. But they can be made from just about anything.
Yeah, I'm looking at your website as we're talking. It's a beautiful website. It's labyrinthinstone.com, and the pictures you have are really amazing. There's a spiral website. There's a bald eagle. I know you've got a heart labyrinth, and then other geometric Celtic crosses and things like that. So yeah, you can embellish these. It's not just a walking path, right?
That's correct. They can, like I said, once again, it's all about your imagination. So you can come up with anything. The cover of our book, we have a book called Miracles Along the Path. And in the book, they're all labyrinths that we've made for around the United States of America, one in Mexico City. And it really it shows images of the labyrinths we've created, but more than that, it tells stories about how they affect people and how they're helping people. So on the cover of our book is a beautiful heart-shaped labyrinth. And it's a really cool story behind this labyrinth because there's so many layers involved in this project talking about creativity and about your imagination. So the labyrinth on the cover, the heart-shaped labyrinth, is in Oklahoma, and it's a small town called Tonkawa, Oklahoma. It's the heart of Oklahoma. They're also known for growing their wheat. So the Heart Labyrinth is in the park called the Heart in the Park, in the center of our United States, the heart of America. And here is this beautiful heart-shaped labyrinth. What they did with this design was it was an art teacher from the high school, and she's the one that came up with the concept, and she contacted us about helping her with the design. So it ended up being the entire community put different layers into that project, and when you see the image of it, it's breathtaking. There's a cowboy walking it with his two show dogs, and you can see their shadows going across the labyrinth. It's also a little different than a typical, it's a more of a contemporary design labyrinth because it's a dual path. So you can walk it with one person on the other side, and then you switch places and you end up walking in the other person's footsteps. So very metaphoric for walking in the other person's footsteps, for seeing what is on the other side, for coming together, wonderful for relationships. Even like a 12-step program would be a wonderful design to walk for that. So what they did in Tonkawa was they did these bricks all the way along the outside. You'll see these little square tile bricks. And they did the history of Tonkawa. So like the first one is, when the town first was established, and then the last one being when Roberts and Stone came and made their labyrinth for them in the Heart in the Park. And in between, all these, wonderful things, happy and sad, things that happened in the town of Tonkawa. The art teacher also did a beautiful heart-shaped bronze with the wheat, and you can see that right at the entrance. So it has the wheat, and it was in a bronze pouring, and she inlaid it right at the center, or right at the entrance when you're walking into the labyrinth. So that has many different layers. So just more testimony to the fact that there's so many different things that can be done with a labyrinth using creativity. So that's one of my really dear part. I love that project. And I love the fact that what the city does, it's actually a little town does, is whenever there's something major that happens in our world, whether it be a world tragedy, whether it be someone just in the town who is going through a difficult time, maybe having a surgery, even anything that they feel like they could come together and pray or be together and send good energy. They show up, they'll send out a text message or a message saying, okay, everybody meet at the heart at 1 o'clock. We're going to send energy and love and pray for this person. And people will show up at the heart and they'll walk the heart together and send energy. So it's really become like a touchstone for their town. So that's one of my favorite labyrinth projects that we've been a part of.
So can you, for the listeners who may not know what labyrinths look like, can you describe the different patterns and what they mean?
I can explain, and then a good idea would be to take a look, to Google it. So yes, I can explain a little bit about the different designs, and I would also like to tell everyone that there is something called the Labyrinth Locator, and it is a joint venture between the Labyrinth Society and Veriditas, which is a wonderful group in San Francisco. Lauren Archer started it, and she's the one from Grace Cathedral who really brought the resurgence of the labyrinth back in our United States of America. And they actually have 2 labyrinths in San Francisco on Nob Hill at Grace Cathedral. And so we came together with Veriditas, the Labyrinth Society and Veriditas came together to create this labyrinth locator. So you can go on the internet and go on the labyrinthlocator.org and put pretty much any place you are in the world, and it will tell you all of the labyrinths that are in your area that you could walk. So another thing is our website for the Labyrinth Society. You can go to our website, and you will find some of the most used, most popular designs with labyrinths. So the first one I'm going to tell you about is called the Classical Labyrinth, and it was discovered on the island of Crete, and they found it on the back of a coin. They think to be almost 5,000 years old. It looks kind of like a brain, and if you've seen, those of you that have seen labyrinths before and know the one that looks like a giant brain shape, some people say an intestine, many people refer to it as the womb. And usually it's 7 paths, but you can make a 7-path classic labyrinth from a seed pattern that could make it into a 3-path labyrinth. So by the seed pattern is how they think that it traveled to all these different countries, 27 different countries. And how did it get to 27 different countries 4,000 years ago? Well, we think that it happened from the seed pattern. And when I teach somebody the seed pattern for the 7-path classic or the 3-path labyrinth, it starts with a cross and some dots. And basically you just connect the dots, and you can create your own labyrinth very easily. So we think that that's how it traveled to all these different countries before we had internet, before we had cell phones, before we really had any kind of communication. You could take a stick in the dirt or in the sand, and you could show somebody, even if you didn't know their language, you could scratch the seed pattern into the sand or the dirt and show them how to connect the dots and have this beautiful walking meditation spiritual labyrinth. Did I answer that pretty good?
Yes, thank you. And what is the site again if somebody wanted to look up the different styles and their histories?
Okay, so we have the labyrinthsociety.org. You can go to that, and there's actually a link there for the labyrinthlocator.org. Or you can just type in labyrinthlocator.org and get the page up where you can find labyrinth, wherever you're at. There's also a link to both of those places on our website, labyrinthandstone.com.
So where around the world or around this country are some of the most well-known ones that just come off at the top of your head, and why would those be the most well-known?
Well, I'd like to talk about the labyrinth in Chartres, France. It's called the Chartres Labyrinth Design, and it is a beautiful design. It's a lot more complicated than the 7-Path Classic, And what we think, what a lot of the historians and people who research this stuff think, is that the Seven Paths Classic was obviously there first, and then the Chart Labyrinth is more from the religious, spiritual side of, it's more organized religion. So they took the Seven Paths Classic that is very, very ancient and very pagan in nature, and they changed it into and created their own design reflecting their belief system. So in the center is this beautiful flower that they relate to Mary. It's a lot more complicated with sacred geometry in the Seven Paths Classic. There is so much sacred geometry in the Chart Labyrinth that I could spend a good hour just talking about it all. There's a lot of complicated geometry that you would not even know exists unless somebody told you about it or you were aware of sacred geometry. But what happens is when you get on that Chart Labyrinth and you start walking the path, your body feels the sacred geometry. Nobody even has to tell you about it. You feel it. And it's because it is sacred. It is this geometry that they've built these cathedrals and these labyrinths and Stonehenge and all these places, that draw this wonderful, beautiful energy and light. And as you walk it, you feel that. It's really interesting design. There's a lot of 90-degree turns. There is sectioned into 4 different sections. So very much like our planet, like our seasons, the 4 seasons. So much. The monks back then, I guess, they really didn't have a lot to do except for to look at the moon and the stars and the universe. And so they created this beautiful pattern that they could walk and feel really connected to the divine. And that's what labyrinths to me do a lot, is to connect me to the divine. It's a wonderful way to raise your vibration. So the Chart Labyrinth in particular tends to really raise people's vibration, just like any kind of sound, healing, nature, laughter, positive thoughts, all these things, drumming, all these things that raise our vibration. Labyrinths tend to raise people's vibration. And I think that's why they're becoming so popular again on our planet.
So I see that you do labyrinths for public areas as well as private areas, yes?
Yes, lots of public parks are putting labyrinths in, lots of hospitals. But yes, in the public, walking the labyrinth as a community, as a group, having an open labyrinth in a public park is such a beautiful thing because anybody can go there to walk that labyrinth. It doesn't matter, what your belief system is. It's just a place to go, to think, to walk, to appreciate beauty and nature around you. And they're becoming really, really popular in public parks. So that's very exciting to me.
Now, did you do one in New Orleans?
We did the one in Audubon Park. In fact, I've been working the last 2 days on setting up arrangements for going back. It's just celebrated its 10-year anniversary. The Labyrinth in New Orleans was a really interesting project from the start. The lady that brought the Labyrinth to her dear city, New Orleans, is a blue blood from there. And she worked for 6 years to try to raise awareness, to find the right person to make the labyrinth, and to the right place to put it. And it ended up, we ended up putting it in Audubon Park. But what happened was she had everything lined up. We were on our way to go build the labyrinth when Katrina hit. In fact, the bricks were already on their way to Audubon Park when Katrina made landfall. So, of course, we didn't go. We made the phone call, found out what was going on. She said, well, hold off. Don't do that yet. Obviously you can't go now. She was not there. She was in another state at the time. She didn't really even know what was going on until we told her because she hadn't been watching the news. So we ended up, not going. We watched it on the news, saw what happened. She called us. Her name is Diane. She called us from the center of Chartres in the labyrinth in the cathedral, and she said, I have an epiphany. She said, I just had an epiphany. She said, the labyrinth was not supposed to happen until after Katrina, because it was to symbolize the resurrection of her dear city. So guess where we were about 2 weeks after Katrina. We were there making the labyrinth for them.
Oh, beautiful.
There was no food. Had to wait for hours for food in line. I mean, the place was devastated. And she felt that the labyrinth was part of the resurrection of bringing the city back. And sure enough, we created the labyrinth, and it was dedicated on Easter Sunday 10 years ago. And it has been, since then, a symbol of resurrection for the city. And people walk that labyrinth all the time. Like, people will make pilgrimages just to go and walk that labyrinth. And we're going there in about a month to just do like a 10-year kind of a cleanup. We're going to clean it, put a new sealer on it, do a couple repairs on the bricks where a couple things have moved a little bit. And we're real excited to be back in the city and to be able to, give this beautiful labyrinth with so much meaning for so many people a bit of a facelift, so it will be there for many, many more generations to come.
Well, that's beautiful. So they do provide healing to individuals and communities then.
It did. In fact, the day of the dedication, there were probably close to 500 people there to walk the labyrinth. The line was so far back. Our daughters went with us to this dedication. They treated us really special while we were there. And, I mean, we just watched. We just watched in awe hundreds of people walking that labyrinth. And really helped us to realize how important labyrinths are on our planet to helping with healing.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yes, while we were talking, I went on the locator, and I see that there's a labyrinth outside of my hospital where I live. So that's wonderful. Yeah. So it does provide healing for those who need it to help get them on the right path, if you will.
Indeed.
If someone wanted to make a labyrinth for themselves on canvas or something, should they follow certain guidelines so that it works best for them? Or do you find that changes as people ascend and their energy changes, as in which pattern and style?
Well, this is, I think, where sometimes magic does come in. And sometimes people, you want some education before you try to paint your own labyrinth, obviously. You want to know if you're going to do the 7-path classic, you'll want to know that seed pattern so that you can put the design on the canvas. I would highly recommend if somebody doesn't know, they want a labyrinth really badly and they'd like to even maybe paint it themselves, but they don't really know how to make the design, would be to work with someone like us who, can help them achieve their dreams. But basically, by knowing that 7-path seed pattern, anybody could pretty much paint a labyrinth. We also do offer where we will provide somebody with the canvas all ready to go, hemmed, sewn, ready to go, and then we'll put the design on it for them so that they can paint it. And a lot of groups like to do it that way. Like, they'll have us put the design on the canvas so that they can paint it with their group, or they can paint it by themselves. But it takes a little bit of the, education part of knowing how to create the design. Then there's other people who just love to come up with patterns and designs, and people are creating so many amazing patterns, contemporary designs that aren't ancient, that are just from things that are just flowing out of people, and they're really quite interesting and wonderful. So you'll see quite a few of those also on the Labyrinth Locator. But mostly, I think you're going to, find the designs that I talked about, the classical and the Chartres labyrinth, in different variations.
Do you have a favorite one that you've worked on that just really, really touches you?
It's a hard one to answer because we're so many, and there's been so many stories that it's just overwhelming. It's like there's so many beautiful ones. I would have to say that the one in our backyard is one of my favorites because that's my personal space, and it's a Chart labyrinth that's been made real small. So a lot of the circuits have been taken way down, and it's just made with crushed granite, and it's made with bricks in the crushed granite. I would just like to offer to people, if they're interested in a sacred space where they can listen to that wee voice within, where they can think about a problem, where they can touch the divine, where they can touch their own divine self, to find a labyrinth and to try it with no judgment, just start on the path, walk the path, follow the path, and listen to your heart and pay attention to what's around you, and magical, magnificent, beautiful things can happen.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your wealth of information on labyrinths. I learned a lot, definitely. So if our listeners want to get a hold of you, they can contact you at your website, labyrinthinstone.com. And again, that's plural, labyrinthinstone.com. And thank you so much, Debbie, for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and hopefully I'll get to share some more about labyrinths with you in the future.
Sounds great. All right, thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.
So am I staring at the breakdown that just won't go away?
Millions of us are turning to the divine for wisdom, love, and guidance. In addition to exploring our personal relationship with the divine, we are opening up to the exploration of alternative spiritual practices such as meditation, energy healing, mediumship, and most importantly, the world of trance channeling. That brings us today to the work of Barbara Beach, host of her inspiring and heartfelt podcast radio talk show, as she channels the higher frequency energies of Mother Mary. Get ready for an enlightening hour of endearing messages of truth, love, and authenticity with Barbara Beach on her eye-opening radio talk show, Conversations with Mother Mary, a quantum mindfulness radio production only on RealRevolutionRadio.com. And if you too would love to become a podcaster today, or perhaps even an ad sponsor with our network on RealRevolutionRadio.com, please by all means call us toll free at 844-414-REAL. Again, that is toll free, 844-414-REAL 7325. And find out more about how you too can become an inspiration, a wonderful talk show host on our inspiring and growing podcast radio talk show network, only here on RealRevolutionRadio.com.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cleveland, we now have liftoff to a higher level of consciousness. Tune in to RealRevolutionRadio.com, the #1 source for independent music and inspirational podcast radio. Awaken, evolve, inspire, and join the evolution only on RealRevolutionRadio.com.
Welcome back to Sacred Whispers on RealRevolutionRadio.com with Linda Roberts and Hailey Hinson. We just got done talking with Debbie
Cumming.
I always want to say Kermit. Sorry, Debbie. About labyrinths, and we only got to briefly touch on that. I hope you do look up her website and all the wonderful information she shared. We wanted to continue the show with talking about sacred sites or places around the world, or even maybe in your own space, that seem to draw you in or seem to have a stronger energy connection. And it kind of ties in with the labyrinths, because some around the world, as you were listening to Debbie, they bring energy and they also give energy. And there are some places when people go that they feel very connected, or they feel portals, vortexes, or chakra work from the earth or from vibrations in that area. One of the well-known places in this country is Sedona. And, of course, there's the Himalayas, and the Peru is a big one. And what are some of the ones that you're drawn to besides Sedona?
The Tetons in Wyoming. Yeah, and then I feel there are some interesting places around Northern California too.
Mm-hmm. And of course, there are the ones that people resonate with in the UK, and of course, there's the Bermuda Triangle and some places in Australia. So, what do you remember that they are, and why people gravitate to them?
Well, what I remember and versus what I feel. What I feel are strong pull, energetic pull to these places, as though they hold ancient wisdom. It's not that deja vu pull of gosh, I've been here before. It's more of maybe I can feel better if I go to this place. It's like an energy being given or downloaded to me for my benefit when I feel I am drawn to those places.
So when you're drawn to a place that feels like a deja vu or a flashback or a past life, how does that feel differently than these other energy places?
Well, some of those places have, either positive or negative feelings about them, depending on whether I've healed what happened in those places and if it was positive or negative. And there's a memory kind of feeling for me. But when I feel drawn to go to these other places where these energies are, it's like a pilgrimage. It's like I must go. It's it's a strong. It's a pull. Whereas some of the other places, it's more of a kind of a nudge of, why don't you go and see that? Whereas I feel like I'm just being pulled or drawn to these energy portal areas.
So it feels like it's more of a soul connection or a pull in that sense versus just a feeling.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very deep.
So some of these places are connected with the Earth's grid patterns that are crystalline and light, that have different energy sources and feelings for the Earth and for the inhabitants. And there are different multiple layers of the grid work as well, but there are certain people that can feel and see them better than others. But a lot of these major hubs are vortexes, portals, and chakras for the Earth and for the universe. Are there any particular ones that you find that draw you in, and why? As in, is it because of the chakra portal, or?
Well,
like Mount Fuji is one.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I like them all. Yeah, I like the energies of Sedona. I like the energies of England. I know England is the heart chakra. So yeah, I'm drawn to those.
What about the places that are portals?
What about them?
Why do you like those?
Oh, I love portals. That's why.
So, I lost my train of thought with that question. We need to go play in some portals.
All right.
So, how would you describe to people the connection with these places making a grid?
Well, it feels as though, how you put up a tent and you have to put stakes in the ground? It feels like they are the stakes in the ground. So it's like they are the connectors, the things that connect and I don't want to say way down, but that hold the space in a stronger way so that you can build grids or put your tent up to each connecting.
And what do you consider as a grid?
A grid?
Mm-hmm.
Well, a grid I think of as energy lights that are connected in sacred geometry, in a sacred geometric pattern.
So when two lines cross, it would be what?
A strong spot. Somewhere that I would like.
How, if you were going to one of these places with a newbie or somebody that is just starting to feel energies, how would you walk them through if it's a portal versus a vortex versus a hub?
Oh, that's a challenging question.
But you may ask the questions,
Well, yeah, that would be nice. How would you do it?
Well, first, I would have them stand on the outside of where they feel the energy is lesser, and to ask themselves to balance with it. And to then follow their instinct. Are they to walk into it or around it, or are they just supposed to feel the vibration? And then to sort of have their senses be aware, does it feel like energy is coming into it, or is it more like a download where things are being downloaded into the person, or is it into the space? Does it come in like a waterfall and then flow, or does it feel like things are flowing up and out, or down into the earth in a way? And a hub is where you feel both, in, out, in, out, in, out. And a lot of these happen where the grid lines crisscross and meet. So it's like an acupoint or I lost the word. Marrow point. There we go. Like a marrow point. And so each grid is almost like a meridian line.
Okay.
And some people see them in different colors. Do you know what the normal color is that most people see them in?
I see them in rainbow colors.
Of course you would. Skittles. Mostly they're in blues. A lot of people see them in blues. And then,
isn't it just because they're kind of looking up into the sky and the sky is blue? Is that a reflection?
No.
Okay.
It's the type of energy connecting. It's like a tube. But, getting a little lofty talking about this one.
Yeah.
So we were going to talk about where these are and why. So when you think of the ones in Peru and that have a connection with Peru and then come up that line up through America, which ones resonate?
What do you, I don't understand what you're asking. Which ones resonate?
Yeah, as in following the pattern from Peru up. Why is there such a shift between the shift that was made in 2012 from the one side of the earth back to this side? So it was in line with the Himalayas, and now it's in line with...
Because the poles changed, right? They've been changing gradually. Yeah.
Well.
I don't know. But I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it like a lot of other people.
So what do you feel when we're at Serpent Mound? That's one of the major hubs.
Yes, that, and for listeners, Serpent Mound is in Ohio, in Peebles, Ohio. So that area feels very strong. You just feel energy kind of lifting up out of the earth when you're there. So, yes.
Does it feel like portal, vortex, or hub to you?
I'd say portal and hub. All the above.
And if you ever get to go to Serpent Mound, please walk it with the intention of maybe feeling something. It is quite interesting. It's in its own way is almost like a labyrinth where it has sacred geometry and many, many connections to it. And it is a very energetic place that you can recharge yourself. We go there like a pilgrimage every summer solstice. We'll be there this year as well. We do all kinds of stuff when we're there, and we also do a little talk and demo and readings and things. But the people that gravitate to a place like that, let's say, the Summer Solstice Festival at Serpent Mound that's put on by the Friends of Serpent. Is it Friends of Serpent Mound or Serpent Mound Friends?
Friends of
Serpent Mound. The people that gravitate, it keeps getting bigger and bigger each year that they have this, and people gravitate, and if you ask them why they come, some just feel this pull. They have to come and keep returning, or this was, the one time that they were going to be able to come. But they feel the positive connection to it. It's not a negative connection. It's a very positive and one that feels like community coming back together. So that there's that universal love and light. And so when you go to places like Glastonbury in the UK, being a chakra point for the earth and then also being a vortex, people gravitate there for solstices and equinoxes to have that community feel. People don't seem to gravitate as much to some of the mountain chakra or hubs. I think that's because to get to the full center of it, you would have to scale the mountain. But if you notice, there are a lot of temples or usually sacred sites along those areas. I cannot remember it's not considered a mountain, isn't it? I think it's considered not a plateau. What are the mountains that have no top?
Plateau.
Is it a plateau? The ones in Australia are very strong. Those are root chakra.
Air's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Those are, and the carvings on there are amazing. But and then Sedona has many little vortexes and portals and well, you had some lovely experiences there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you like to share any of those?
Lots of fun. No, I don't, because I don't remember that.
That's another thing that can happen when you're surrounded by these amazing energies. Sometimes you're in the moment. You're in this bliss state, and you don't always recall what you saw, felt, or were gifted when you're in these areas. Did you have the same issue when you've gone to like the Tetons or things like that, or was it more subtle?
It was more subtle when I went to some of the other locations. But I think I was just wanting to receive a lot of energy when I did go to Sedona, and so I think I did receive that so much so that, it's a blur. I have photographs. I know I was there, but, reflecting back, I don't know. I felt better when I left, that's for sure.
So they're also healing places.
Yes, very much so, yeah. Well, I feel all of these, portals and vortexes and hubs, I feel that they all provide healing for those who wish to receive it.
I think that's mostly the case. Mm-hmm. I'm sure, as being an energy worker and one that helps with healing and clearing, you know that some have been used as kind of like a filter for stuff that is trying to exit that's no longer needed here. And sometimes those need to have some help too to boost the light and love effect in them. Mm-hmm. Does that make any sense what I just said?
Somewhat. So you have not made it to many of these.
Not this lifetime, no.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
I've been a wee bit inhibited in being able to. Yes. I would like to.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that, I've been offered to go to Sedona several times, but it all seems to be in the time of year that I would not survive in that climate.
Yes, my cold weather friend.
I have gone to some of the smaller ones that are in the northwest and the northeast of this country, but I have not yet traveled out of this country yet. I hope to.
All right. Very good. So, do you want to talk, since we talked about, forgetfulness and feeling the energies and that, and there are some things that people can do to help them stay grounded, because I know a lot of times when I was in Sedona, I did become ungrounded, which can lead to confusion and memory loss. But you always want to travel with a partner if you're going to some of these intense places. But there are stones that can help to keep you grounded. I feel especially the metallic stones, those with metals and meteorites in them, are beneficial.
Yes,
yeah,
they are.
Yeah.
For some you may hear gurring. Like me, I have even though I know I need more copper, at times I gur when I have to ground with that. I prefer the softer ones like obsidian.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've been gravitating towards the oils right now versus some of the stones for my grounding, because of the health things that I've been dealing with, because the stones didn't quite sync with what I was healing.
Okay. So what oils do you find beneficial for grounding?
The woodsy ones. Cedar is a good light one. I like that one along with the evergreen mixture or blend. Which I know it has pine. I know it has the cedar. It might have cypress. I don't know.
So the conifer tree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why they called it evergreen. I need some right now because I can smell it. Yeah, I like that one. I usually only have to hold the bottle or sniff the bottle. I don't believe it's one that is actually to be used topically. I think that one is actually one that they recommend, not because it's for very sensitive skin people, and I'm a sensitive skin person.
Right.
And I have diffused it, and one drop goes a long way with that blend. It's very strong. It's a very strong one. But it's really nice if you mix it with some of your spice ones, like clove and stuff like that, especially during holiday season.
Okay, good.
So it's sort of grounding for that.
Mm-hmm. And there is an essential oil called grounding. It's a blend. It's a blend of some of those conifer trees. That's quite powerful too.
Yeah, that one I was using for a while, but I would ground too fast, too hard for me, so I had to find a medium point. Mm-hmm. But do you have a stone or a oil that works for you? I do. Someone going ground,
yelling at me. Yeah. Well, I do like my obsidian, which I'll take with me. Also copper. There's copper jewelry. You can also find a copper ball or a piece of it. You can keep that on your person so that you can stay grounded. And if you need to call on that energy to help you ground, that would be good. And then
does it help you when you're at a stone or a rock store?
I think it did. Yes, I think it did. Yeah, I got a little silly at the rock shop the other day and got ungrounded. But then I do like the grounding oil. It seems to work for me. So, everyone's different. Some people are more sensitive than others, so use your intuition and your body's wisdom and see what works best for you.
So when you go to high energized places like Serpent, do you find that you need to ground as much as you did at Sedona? Or, I mean, is it a different feel because it's different energies? One has more vortexes, many different directions versus...
Yeah, I mean, it is a different feel. There's a different sense that I have for both places. And, I'm at different phases of my life when I went to both places. But I know you and I also, especially when we're at Serpent, and if we're taking in a lot of energy, our appetite goes haywire. I mean, oh my gosh, we eat a lot of food.
It looks like we have packed for about 40 people for, a tailgate party. And we just were constantly eating. Last year we didn't eat as much.
Yeah.
But we were not on the mound.
We weren't as close to the mound as we were before, but certainly when you're processing energy and you go to some of these highly charged places, you may find that your appetite increases because your body is processing those energies. Number one, it's processing the new energies and shifting your field, but also the weight of the food can help to keep you grounded as well, so you're not spacey and scattered with your thoughts.
We eat a lot of chocolate.
Chocolate is grounding. Thank you.
Dark chocolate, not milk chocolate. Darker the better for grounding.
Yeah,
it's a natural grounder. Mm-hmm. And of course, any of your root vegetables. I like beets. You don't, but you like carrots, and I don't. So
yeah, the things that come from underground, under earth, also help you to ground as well.
So eating rabbit would help ground.
Oh, I don't know about that. I only see them above ground. I don't know where you're going, but
I think I need to eat.
But these places are fantastic to visit. So yeah, if you do have the opportunity to visit, certainly go if you feel called to do so and experience these energies, because they can be wonderfully healing and help you to let go and to be lighter.
Definitely.
So, oh boy. Okay, so she's thinking about Serpent already. It's only April.
Hey!
The time of this recording. So, but the solstice, yes, it is June. We will be there. We recommend, all of you listeners join us. It's a wonderful event. It's not terribly crowded. There's not hundreds of people. I mean, there may be maybe 200 at most.
I don't know.
Throughout the whole weekend.
Hopefully it doesn't.
It's a fun festival.
Rain too hard.
And you can learn about the history and the geology of it, and some of the astrological connections that particular mound has.
Yeah, they have speakers that come and talk about that, and then they have people that connect music with it and the artwork and yeah. Down, girl, down.
Yes, we're almost to the solstice. Yes, we are. So, with that, let's share some of our upcoming events since we're talking about this. So, we are going to be in Peoples, Ohio, at the summer solstice at the Serpent Mound, Friends of Serpent Mound event.
Mm-hmm. I just remember it's summer solstice weekend. I think it's the weekend of the 16th.
It is. It's the
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Right. So the event is the 17th, which is a Friday. So it starts that weekend, and it's a family-friendly event, and there is camping available on site if you choose, or slightly off-site.
I'm not sure if I'm doing anything yet. I hope to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All righty. Your yoga classes will be ending soon, and you'll be in instructor mode then, right?
Yeah, hopefully we can get our fusion stuff going, and we'll be able to have those as events going on. But, yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. Well, We thank you all for listening to our show, Sacred Whispers, on realrevolutionradio.com. And if you want to contact us, my website is thewhispersoflove.com, and Hailey's is sacredlotusheart.com. And it's been a pleasure. Have a great day.